a big fish, small pond merchant like Richarlison, or a chaotic hybrid of Lautaro Martinez and Omar Marmoush? Just how good is Matheus Cunha?
Gets it back from Gomez. Oh, it runs through, chance! Goal for Cunha!
From an attacking perspective, Cunha is a player who offers a significant goal threat, registering close to 0.5 goals per 90. That's a really respectable return for a second striker. And interestingly, his XG per 90 isn't particularly high, which suggests that many of his goals come from low probability positions. Probably a testament to his natural ball striking ability and unpredictability, someone that can really score explosive goals rather than consistently getting into high quality goal scoring areas. What makes him so dangerous is that he's not dependent on a particular type of goal. He can score from anywhere. He can score in transition, strike with power off either foot, finish across goal, go near post, even strike directly from corners. So someone who can break from deep from his own half due to his explosiveness, off the ball, sharp movement, drifts intelligently into dangerous pockets, can arrive late into the box. He's got that speed, that directness. So in terms of potential output, Cunha feels like a player who should be scoring a minimum of 20 goals per season across all competitions, and arguably even more in a system that maximizes his ability to run at defenses and exploit transition moments. If there's a criticism to be made, I'd say composure. Doesn't really slow the game down. He gets plenty of shots off, doesn't really shy away from shooting from difficult angles, but there could be moments where he takes that extra touch and slows things down. Additionally, his off-the-ball movement, while it's effective in bursts, I don't think it's consistent, like a truly elite level striker. Nevertheless, overall, high goal threat ranking, unpredictable, two-footed forward with genuine explosiveness.
Fury again. Cunha once more.
Fade to Andre. Cunha. Skip past Fredriksson. Matheus Cunha. Free kick.
From a dribbling perspective, Cunha attempts 5 dribbles per game with a 52% success rate. With that volume, it shows that he's an active ball carrier, but I wouldn't put him in that same technical bracket as elite dribblers like Musiala, Marmoush. I think these players have tighter close control, more consistent execution, but he's definitely a more progressive player than a Bruno Fernandes with the ball. His dribbling style is explosive, it's unpredictable, it's driven by athleticism and instinct, but it does lack polish, it lacks elegance. He's not that player that can glide through tight spaces consistently with effortless slaloms. Instead, he kind of bundles his way through defenders using powerful body shifts, abrupt changes of pace and unpredictable touches, and at times the ball does seem to almost bounce off him rather than stick to him. But that also makes him quite difficult to defend. It reminds me a bit of Luis Suarez in that sense, so that chaos does give him an edge. I think he operates at his best when he's operating in these open channels, especially when he's driving diagonally from the left into central areas or in behind the CDM position. His ability to chop from left to right, explode past defenders and carry that momentum makes him a real serious transition threat. I think he's got little bits of tricks, foot rolls, body feints, surprise turns, which he kind of pulls out in 1v1s, but they almost come out more reactively rather than systematically. So really raw player, more of a street style dribbler than a polished technician. So not a top end dribbler in terms of control, finesse, but definitely an effective and dangerous one. Want access to world-class coaching drills developed by the great man himself, Johan Cruyff? Well, Pythagoras in Boots has partnered up with Cruyff Football to deliver you exclusive tactical content. We also feature behind-the-scenes footage of the recent Cruyff Football tournament, which featured the likes of Ajax, Barcelona, the finest youth teams in the world. And next year, we're going to be seeing the likes of PSG and Chelsea joining Man City, Atletico, you name it, they are there. We also have exclusive insights with interviews with the likes of Jordi Cruyff to give you a real feel for that Cruyffian football philosophy. So check the description below for a discount link to the Cruyff football methodology and level up your football IQ.
Gallivant forward ahead of Ryan Aït-Nouri. Cunha. Too straight. Spike the bounce in front of Alice.
In terms of creativity, Cunha is more of a second striker rather than a final third operator like a De Bruyne or a Bruno Fernandes who consistently create chances. He's not a chance creation machine. Does have a certain level of vision and delicacy, especially in transitional play when he's got runners ahead of him. So he thrives in broken play or these transitional moments when the opposition is on the retreat and there's space to exploit. In those type of instances, delivers subtle, well-timed through balls into channels or even in behind. Rate of pass on the run is generally quite solid when there's a bit of chaos in the game and he's allowed to play with that instinct. However, when faced with a set defense or a low block, his ability to consistently unlock a backline with precise through balls tends to drop off. He's not that type of player you want operating in tight spaces with that responsibility of surgical passing. For possession-dominant teams that require intricate creativity around the box, he's probably not that profile that you want starting in those advanced midfield areas. He's not a Florian Wirtz type of player, but for counter-attacking sides or systems where quick transitions are the primary chance creation method, Cunha could become a real asset because he carries, he glides, he draws defenders, and he can slide in runners when the game is stretched.
Cunha. Guedes.
His feet, but it came on. Cunha takes it off Bellegarde.
In terms of Cunha's link-up play, he's not a high-volume passer, averaging just 28 passes per game with a 78% success rate. He's not someone who's going to dominate that ball or act as a classical number 10. He's more of a second striker whose game is more explosive and moment-driven. His style is direct, aggressive, tempo-lifting, thrives on injecting pace and verticality into the game. He's not someone who's got that poser. He's not a Riquelme, David Silva. He's not going to orchestrate things. That said, he doesn't lack technical tools. He's someone who can use foot rolls, one-touch wall passes, sharp combinations on the half turn, but everything's executed with one thing in mind: progressing that ball quickly, destabilizing opponents. So tactically, if you're building around Cunha, you don't want him to be that heart of your possession structure. He's better utilized as that link between the lines type, someone who can puncture defensive shapes, drag defenders out of position, and open up space for others by playing with urgency. I think he's more of a Kaka than a Riquelme. He's a spark plug, not a conductor.
En ese momento, pero a un punto después de esta vuelta.
De acuerdo, ataca Lauri Verde. Se agrupa Colombia, no hay ángulo.
Just touching briefly on Cunha's crossing, not someone who shies away from drifting wide, puts in his fair share of crosses. Statistically, the crossing output's notable with a 33% success rate. And that's around Bruno Fernandes levels, but the eye test would say that Bruno Fernandes is a lot better in terms of his technical consistency and his vision. Nevertheless, Cunha is two-footed, he's versatile in his delivery types, tends to favour driven balls across the face of goal. That's when he's at his best. When he's from that left half space, I think he crosses from too deep on the pitch, and then he goes for these chipped, curled balls, which are quite easy to clear. But when he's closer to goal, he's a lot more dangerous. From the right side, there's a noticeable uptick in quality. I feel like these crosses have a lot more whip, they're more decisive, and they can really open up defenses. So overall, not a world-class crosser, but he's got that ambidexterity. He can cross from both sides of the pitch. So this could be a potent part of his game if trained correctly.
Cavalry is arriving. Leave it into Cunha.
In aerial situations, Cunha is relatively poor, winning just 24% of his aerial duels, which ranks him well below average for an attacker. He does compete frequently, doesn't really show any hesitation in terms of leaping into duels, but his approach is more nuisance-based. He's someone who makes life uncomfortable for defenders, but he lacks the precision, timing and technique to consistently make any aerial moments count. Inside the box, his movement is sharper than his actual finishes. His speed allows him to peel off defenders, attack space as well, but once that ball's delivered, the execution's lacking. He struggles to generate clean contact. The headers tend to glance off his forward, especially with attacking deliveries coming in from the right side. I wouldn't say he's a passive player. He does actively compete in the air, and while he might not win any headers cleanly, his disruptive presence often allows his team to win second balls, and these moments don't really show up in terms of raw duel success stats, but they do offer indirect value in terms of the chaos he creates. Ultimately, not a reliable aerial outlet. He'll throw himself into challenges, but he's unlikely to convert chances. So what I would say is he needs to improve his timing, leaping mechanics and heading technique to elevate this part of his game. We've analysed the game at the highest level, and now we want to represent the people that play it. Pythagoras and Boots are now officially FIFA qualified football agents, and now we're partnering up with Dave Lawrence, a former sporting director and female first team ladies coach at West Bromwich Albion with over 20 years of coaching experience. He's also been an agent for the past 5 years, a UEFA licensed coach as well. So together we're looking to provide expert player performance analysis, legal support with my legal background, mental well-being, anything that you need on or off the pitch, we can holistically deliver it. So don't be afraid to check the description, get in contact with us to see what next-gen player management really looks like.
Gallivant forward ahead of Ryan Aït-Nouri. Cunha. Too straight. Spike the bounce in front of Alice.
In terms of long passing, Cunha struggles a fair bit. Attempts relatively high volume of long passes, which suggests that he's somewhat of a Hollywood ball merchant, always looking for the most ambitious option. But the execution doesn't match his vision. With only 50% accuracy, His long passing is notably weaker than his peers, Lautaro Martinez, Marmoush. They're closer to the 70% mark. I don't think the issue is a lack of intent, imagination. He clearly can see the play, but he's got that overconfidence to attempt high difficulty switches or vertical balls, but hasn't got the technique to match it. His passes are overhit. They lack the kind of weight and empathy that allow teammates to receive them cleanly. What adds a slight unpredictability to his long passing in a good way is his two-footedness, which does allow him to attempt long balls from unexpected angles and under different body shapes. Occasionally, this unlocks defenses in a way that others can't, but for the most part, these passes look too telegraphed. They're easy to read by well-positioned centre-backs, and a lot of his long passes end up being turnovers that stall attacking momentum and invite pressure.
The injuries they've had and playing for an hour here with 10.
Statistically, Cunha averages 6 defensive actions per game with a success rate hovering around 60%. Numbers that point to a forward that's definitely engaged out of possession. He's willing to put in the work. However, when you compare those numbers to someone like Marmoush, Lautaro, suddenly his impact doesn't look that elite. He's active, but is he necessarily disruptive? Physically, however, there's a lot to like. Strong, athletic, he's got that Brazilian street football edge. Doesn't mind get his hands dirty. Throws in the occasional slide tackle, forwards challenges. However, these can be rushed, uncalculated and occasionally reckless, so this could lead to bookings. That said, there's a clear base to build from. He's dynamic, he's pacey, he's agile, so that makes him potentially a very useful presser. He's quick over short distances and he's always scanning, looking to drive, and that makes him ideal in counter-pressing systems because once he's won that ball, he's going to carry at pace and destabilize the opposition before they reset. One thing to know, at Wolves, he's the main man, so he's not someone who's going to have to work as hard as he would at a bigger club, so those numbers could go up. So while the data might not scream elite defensive forward, I think the potential is quite high because he's got the engine, potentially got the attitude, and he's got the physical tools. Just needs to refine the timing and the tactical discipline. So as you can see, Cunha plays as a left inside forward in what is a 3-4-2-1. So Wolves' shape is very, very similar to Manchester United. Similar. Back three, in possession. The only difference I'd say is that the two midfield pivots, they tend to stay closer together, whereas United's are a bit more spread out. And the inside forwards stay closer to the striker. So there's a lot more discipline here. Whereas if you look at someone like Garnacho, who's meant to be playing right inside forward, he's drifted all the way over to the left. Wolves are a lot more structured. Having said that, though, Cunha does have the freedom to roam across, but when he does, the team interchanges as a result. In terms of his sphere of influence, we can see that Cunha, particularly in that game against United, he's looking to make inroads into that left inside half space. The beauty with Cunha is that he's got the athleticism to not only get the ball from here and drive that ball forward, but even runs in behind. If a ball was to come from over the top from that right centre back, Cunha can run onto the ball. So he's someone who offers threat both deep and driving with the ball and driving the transition, but also in terms of the counter attack, also being that guy who can use his pace, run in behind and get in behind as well. Which then brings us to the next question. Where does Cunha fit in terms of Manchester United? What I would say is that he would probably operate in that same space of being a left inside forward, pretty much what a Rashford would have done had he stayed at the club. But I think what Cunha offers is a bit more contribution in terms of picking that ball up from deep, better work rate in terms of the press, but he also will look to get in behind, but also pop shots off from the distance. So in some ways similar to Rashford, but with more work rate, I would say, and a bit more contribution towards the midfield. I reckon what we'll see is Dorgu operating down that left wing back spot, stretching the width. I think Diallo and Garnacho, if they both stay at the club, particularly with Garnacho, they should interchange in between in terms of the wing back positions. I'd like to see Diallo come out of the side. Yeah, Cunha, left inside forward, not a centre forward profile, is what I would predict. Now, I know you're dying for the conclusion on Cunha's rating. However, some big announcement first. I've been selected by the BBC to be part of a TV show called The Last Pundit Standing. It's so exciting. The winner gets to be a presenter for shows like Football Focus, Match of the Day, and I'm one of the 12 contestants in it. So week by week, they're going to whittle us down to see who's the winner. It's going to be live on BBC Three. It's going to be on BBC iPlayer as well. So please check it out. Check out my socials for updates. Really look forward to seeing all of you guys there. Now, in terms of Cunha and how he fits in, I think a team like Manchester United, they will need a player like this because apart from Garnacho, apart from Amad Diallo, they don't really have players within that squad with the profile to really be dynamic and progress that team up the pitch and give that team a bit of drive. So I think Cunha from that perspective He's a really useful player who fits in seamlessly into Amorim's tactical setup because he's used to playing as a 3-4-2-1 inside forward. So that should be fine. But in terms of the long-term ceiling of Cunha, I don't think he's that type of player who breaks into that generational world-class bracket. So the price packet for this player has to be careful. It has to reflect the fact that he improves United now, but in the long term, he's not going to be a player who wins United the Champions League in the long term. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and see you guys on the BBC. Bye.